lies! You're just saying that to trick me again! From the moment I was brought here, everyone despised me. I tried, but it was over before it started!
So even if the whole world speaks ill of you, I'll tell them they're wrong. I'll defend you.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News Marathon Night, where we take a season of an anime series and we marathon it. We do like 2 to 5 episodes, crunch them down, give our thoughts on them, say which one was best, which one was worst, and we continue our journey into Rising of the Shield Hero, Season 1, Episodes 16 through 18. I'm your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's having an awesome day when they're listening to this. And joining me, obviously, is my lovely wife, Andrea, who, even though is cold as fuck, will not tell anybody. Right, Andrea? How are you?
I am fine.
And now she's cold as fuck and tired as fuck. I promise I'll stop dropping F-bombs, but it pretty much explains things for you, doesn't it? So, episodes 16 through 18. We are down to 7 episodes left in the first season of Rising of the Shield Hero. And does it keep getting better? Does it kind of drop down? Are you still invested?
I'm still interested.
You're still interested. All right. So
I'll be interested until the end. So how about that?
Well, no, because I have to keep asking that because they'll keep asking that. So, we actually also had a bit of a cliffhanger last time.
We always end on cliffhangers.
We always end on cliffhangers. It's almost like this is a trend. It's almost like this is a trend or something. I don't know. What are you talking about? So let's go ahead and get things started with episode 16, Filial Queen. So we ended last time on a cliffhanger where Creepy Dude, yes, Creepy Dude, because I'm not going to learn a character's name that is only going to be there for 3 to 4 episodes at most. Creepy Dude decided to summon a demon because his god told him to, or something like that. And so this was a demon that was sealed away by the previous Cardinal Heroes. And it turns out that it's a giant T-Rex with diamonds for spikes on its back. And of course, the Jurassic Park situation happens where, well, I mean, he's not like the lawyer. He doesn't get eaten, but he gets stepped on. And that was fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got stepped the fuck on. So at that point, the demon is out, and immediately chaos ensues, and Naofumi is looking at the problem here. Philo, because I guess it's a dragon, and Philolials just hate dragons, immediately tries to start kicking the crap out of it. Isn't really doing anything. But Naofumi notices a bigger problem at hand here, which is they are fighting in basically a city, like a little
town,
a little township, and so at that point he's like, yeah, we're gonna do a lot more damage here than we probably should, and so he then resolves that we need to get it out. We're gonna call it the T-Rex now because it basically looks like a T-Rex. We need to get T-Rex out of the township. So at that point he's got to get Raftalia centered again because she's busy dealing with her buddy Keel. And Keel basically says, it's okay, go take care of this. You are the party of the Shield Hero now. Don't worry about it. And so they leave him with Pretty Boy. Yes, Pretty Boy. I'm not going to learn this guy's name.
And Raftalia
would you prefer that I call him Bishonen Batman? Just saying. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and she decides to give Keel her bracelet.
Which apparently she thought Master Naofumi would be upset about, but he's just like, yeah, no, I mean, it's yours. That's why I give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I even I'll mention this again, because for those who don't know from the previous episode, we had a little bit of a kerfuffle last time we recorded this, so we're recording it again. And so I'll bring this once again back up. How do you think that somebody like Motoyasu would have that handled? I think you'd smack him and be like, hey, that's 10 agility, put it back on!
Oh, yes.
Because, they're so into the video gamey aspect. So at that point, like, they all get up on Philo. So Melty, Raftalia, Naofumi, they all get up on Philo, and they run out of the village to the middle of a forest with a pond there. But to satisfy Andrea, I'm going to say miniature lake.
That works.
So, the miniature lake, which will now forever be named Mini Lake. And instead now I'm going to call it Ricky Lake. No, I'm kidding. So the T-Rex follows them all the way out to it, and they immediately, like, they're prepping up, getting all of their weapons ready and everything like that, and trying to formulate a strategy, and immediately they get right into it. Philo is barely doing anything against it. Melty's magic isn't really doing anything against it. Raftalia isn't even able to scratch it. And Naofumi can barely hold it off in his defense. So they're not in a good spot at all. But then all of a sudden, while he's trying to figure out a plan for this, he actually, says, I'll go ahead and start using the Rage Shield. Something weird happens. He's not allowed to use the Rage Shield. He doesn't know why, but then a voice kind of comes into his head basically saying, don't use that.
Yeah, and there's this mystified...
Yeah, there's this mist that starts flooding in, which prevents Naofumi from using any other shields, which is kind of weird. And then, like, 100 chocobos, start running in and basically create, like, this mini arena.
No, you should have gone, like, the Philolios... chocobos, you know?
Chocobos! Yes, well, they're the chocobo version. So at that point, they all kind of formed this arena, and then all of a sudden, the Godzilla of chocobos, Philolials, comes in, and basically says, I will handle this. And we're talking big Philolial. Like, she looks like Philolial, or like Philo in her poofy form, but she is the size of a building. And so she immediately gets ready to take care of it. Naofumi's like, well, I'll try and use the Rage Shield again, because she shouldn't have to do it alone. Still can't do it, and even Philo, this Godzilla Philolials, looks down at him and says, I said, let me handle this. She's very insistent that he not use that at all. And basically what we have happen is they clash once, and this Philolio then goes, Omae wa mo shinderu, and immediately blood everywhere.
Yeah, I love it how she tries to reason with it, and
Yeah, it's like, Omae wa mo shinderu. Well, no, she's just like, I wish we didn't have to do this, but this is your last chance. Yeah. And then, poof, Omae wa mo shinderu.
But then she's like, okay, very well, I'll just have to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Bam! And blood everywhere, and Melty apparently knows who it is, so she actually says that she is the Philolial Queen. And so at that point, we start getting introductions in order, and everybody is just staggered at the fact that, like, this demon that they had such a problem with killing was no effort to this Philolial Queen at all, which actually kind of staggers all of them, including Melty. And the funniest thing is, we find out Melty knows her, but didn't know she had this power. So eventually, the Philolial Queen comes over and says, I take it you're the shield hero? Yes, I've actually been wanting to talk to you, but I'm not going to do it in this form. And so she then transforms from this Godzilla Philolial into a girl probably a little older than Philo with silver hair. And then we learn that her name is FITORIA. So FITORIA is the queen of the Philolials, the actual queen. And so at that point, Melty kind of properly introduces everybody, because she has met FITORIA on a previous diplomatic journey that she did. And in turn says, it's okay, we can trust her. And so at that point, she actually says, I would love to be able to talk to you guys, but this really isn't the place to do it. And instead, the 100 chocobos, chocobos, decide to take her off to, like, a remote area that looks like just ruins. Turns out that this was, like, a previous village that existed during the time of the previous Cardinal Heroes. And I'm guessing that FITORIA has some memories here or something like that, and that's why she picked it, but bottom line is, they decide, okay, well, this place is protected because of FITORIA. We'll go ahead and make camp and properly feed ourselves and everything like that, to which they do. By the way, the other thing that we have a little bit of a conflict about is that Naofumi wants to take the T-Rex's flesh and put it into the shield so that he could get more stuff out of it. And FITORIA is very much against this, saying you don't want to put cursed stuff in your shield. And she's very vehement about this, but he still insists on doing it. And they, in fact, also drag the T-Rex's corpse with them to go have dinner, to which then they have 100 Filolios, looking at them very hungry. To which Naofumi, after being pestered so long, basically says, all right, go grab me all the ingredients that I need and as many pots as you have. And then he makes T-Rex stew for everybody else.
How would you like to eat that, you know?
Well, when you're in that situation, what else do you have? I wouldn't, but, you know, if hunger was catching me, I'd like to think that hunger would just make that decision for me. So at that point, we get a couple of questions answered. This is where we learn that Melty knew about FITORIA from a previous diplomatic trip. We even get some questions answered, like why was she out there in the first place? Turns out one of her little chocobos actually told her that there was a Filolial Queen out there, and so she went out there not to only to meet the shield hero, but also to meet Philo. And so at that point, we actually do get a little bit of a conversation about like what's going on with Philo, why she is the way she is. And also, we learn that she potentially can replace FITORIA as the next Filolial Queen. And so Philo doesn't know how she feels about it because, you know, like she's already kind of staggered by the power that FITORIA has shown off. And, well, Philo's not that strong yet. So at that point, FITORIA then asks to have the shield hero and her speak alone. And they kind of just leave everybody else to go get their rest and everything like that. And since Naofumi's used to being up this late at night, you know, he just like, okay, yeah, sure, let's go talk. And we learn a couple of interesting things. One, apparently Naofumi cheated on the gacha game. Because if a cardinal hero picks up one of those eggs, it is guaranteed to become a Filolial Queen. And in fact, one of the reasons that FITORIA has the power that she does is because her owner was a former cardinal hero. So at that point, that's why she is as powerful as she is.
So did the slave trader merchant guy or whatever, did he say in the group you can either get a Filolio or...
There was a chance to get a Filolial Queen, but there was an even lesser chance of getting a dragon. That was the gacha game.
Or was it just...
But most of the time, it was just a regular Filolial. So like a chocobo one. Okay. Except he didn't know that a cardinal hero can influence that and break the game and therefore make a Filolial Queen. So that's why that's happening. But then Filolial gets to ask a question of the shield hero, which is, why are you fighting with the other heroes? We both had a little bit of a conflict with this one, and we're gonna probably talk about it quite a bit, but this is where it started. So she knows, because of her Filolial messengers, that the shield hero has been wronged, and that the other heroes aren't on his side on it, and also that they're not working together because of said disagreement. And so she immediately decides to preach down to Naofumi and basically say, why aren't you working with the other heroes? To which at that point, he explains, well, if you know what happened, then you know that would be pointless. And to which she keeps on hammering, you know, you could have actually tried to clear your name. You could have tried to at least set a, you know, work with one of the other heroes, and you didn't do any of that. Why didn't you do it? And this is where I have a major disagreement with FITORIA, and you do too. Not because I said it, but because we said it. Mm-hmm. We know the situation. There is no way that he was going to convince any of the other heroes that he was innocent, because, you know, there's a little part of the equation called mine, who, and I'm going to clarify this because I made the statement, but I didn't ask if you agreed with it. Is it safe to say mine is a pathological liar?
Yes.
Yes. So, if if she's a pathological liar,
and especially since her parents are the king and queen of the land.
Yeah, she's got a major case of bishop's daughter syndrome.
Yeah, so basically anything she says, she thinks she's in the right, and well,
but let's get back into the pathological liar part.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem with pathological liars? They never want their lies being displayed.
Mm-hmm.
So Mine is going to do everything in her power to keep the other heroes on her side. So the only way you are going to be able to dissuade them is to get Mine out of the room, and you will never get Mine out of the room. She will never let that happen. You will have to literally force her out, and she's the fucking princess.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you're going to get that to happen. And Naofumi continues to explain this, and is getting preached to by this little Filolial bitch, basically saying he's not doing enough. And then she kind of goes off into explanation, like, because he kind of asks, like, why is this so important? Why are you hammering this so hard? To which she basically explains that in order for a proper defense to be happening against the waves, the cardinal heroes need to work together, and by that they mean that it doesn't. So it just so happens that when waves occur, there isn't just one spot that they occur in. There are multiple spots across the world. And so what really has to happen is that these cardinal heroes need to be in 4 separate countries at once. In 4 separate countries fighting off the waves with their parties. Because these are going to get ridiculous. They're going to continue to grow in power, and they're going to get even harder to be able to fight off. And so you need to be able to work together in that regard. So it's not just one area that they all are in. They actually would have to be eventually in multiple countries at the same time, fighting off the different waves that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think when she said that?
Well, I would think...
I know what Naofumi was thinking, that going home just got a whole hell of a lot harder.
Yeah, especially... It may seem like the first wave or two were like on easy mode where you're like...
But they're all going to grow.
But now it's going to get harder and harder each time, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. To which Naofumi's kind of response to that is, well, you're pretty powerful. Why aren't you helping with the waves? And to which she kind of points out, yes, I am helping with the waves. But eventually, they're going to grow so powerful that I can't do anything with them. That the cardinal heroes are the only ones that can ultimately win against the waves. So you need to be gathering that power. You need to be working with your fellow heroes and their parties to be able to do this. And the fact that you guys are not getting along for such trivial reasons is not going to work out for everybody in the end. So she tries to convince him a couple of times here, please go speak with the other heroes, to which he's like, that's pointless. And here's the thing, as viewers, we agree with Naofumi.
Mm-hmm.
It is pointless. Because let's actually analyze this for a second. Motoyasu is a lost fucking cause. Because he has to deal with Mine 24/7. So she is constantly saying this shit to him, and I'm pretty sure he religiously believes it. Now, Ren and Itsuki, you might be able to get somewhere if you got Mine out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
But Mine is a pathological liar and is the princess. What do you think the chances are, Andrea, of getting her out of the room?
Slim.
To none?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, it's great and all that Ren and Itsuki, are, they make these motions to show trust in the shield hero, but you're never going to be able to completely convince them, and Motoyasu is lost. There's no way to be able to convince him. He is so dead set on his beliefs with Mine that it's never going to work. So at that point, Naofumi is basically saying, yeah, you need to drop this because it's just not going to happen. To which the episode ends with FITORIA making a very bold statement. Well, if you guys aren't going to try and get along, then I'll just have to kill you. And here's the thing, that's a threat that she could very easily make good on.
Mm-hmm.
And we know she could. So, final thoughts on episode 16, The Filolial Queen. What did it do right? What did it do wrong?
Well,
it established FITORIA. And FITORIA is powerful. But it also established that FITORIA and the shield hero have some very vehement disagreements. So...
Well, it's good knowledge to know what's going on, but at the same time,
very
it's
good
like,
world building.
But if she just anticipates to expect him to go and be the bigger man and try and
this is where I would say, like, okay, here's the positives of the episode, FITORIA. What's the negatives of the episode? FITORIA. So, because FITORIA, yeah, she's awesome and powerful and all of that, but
she sets high standards for the shield hero, but it just seems like she doesn't understand that. Hasn't he actually already tried?
Every bit of information. She's not in the capital. She's getting this from messengers.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you're going to lose some context there. I'm pretty sure the Filolials can't get everywhere in the capital. They probably know that the shield hero is being mistreated, but they probably don't know why. So, she's not even willing enough to admit that that the source of her information might be limited. And yet she's still being all haughty. Now, as far as funny moments, I'm still gonna give it to either the Omae wa mo shindaru, because that was absolutely hilarious, but also the creating the stew for all the other chocobos. Those
are two good.
Those are some very good ones. Out of 5, what would we give Filolial Queen? 4.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 4.
Yeah,
it establishes things pretty well. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to episode 17, A Promise Made. And we literally cut back into that moment of FITORIA making the threat that she's going to kill you. So basically what she's saying with that promise is that it's actually more worthwhile for her to go and kill the other cardinal heroes, along with Naofumi, and summon new ones that might get along better than waiting for these current cardinal heroes to figure shit out and for the waves to get unbearable. So I'm just going to ask, what do you think of that logic that she's pointing in? I mean, it's technically correct, but it's a little extreme.
Well, she does have a valid...
She has a valid point, but not a valid premise.
Oh, yes.
So...
It's kind of like, well, that kind of makes sense in a way, but how could you guarantee that they're not going to have an issue with the shield hero in the next one? So...
Right. Then we have a little bit of an awkward moment where they're still talking, but for some reason, FITORIA is listening to Naofumi talk and immediately is reminded of her cardinal hero. Now, I should say for the record, we don't know which cardinal hero she was her owner. It could be the sword hero, we don't know. And it's been so long she doesn't remember. But apparently they sounded a lot like Naofumi, and so she actually out of nowhere decides to put her head on his lap. He's like, what? She's like, just let me have this minute. Because of the walk down memory lane that she's having. And I'm going to go ahead and explain this theory because I think her previous owner was a shield hero.
It makes
It makes a lot of sense, and here's why. Because she knows a lot about the shield hero, and apparently, in this kingdom, the shield hero has always had problems with the kingdom, and has always been loved by demi-humans, but hated by demi-human hating humans. So basically all the demi-human areas love the shield hero and everybody else hates him. So she's very well aware of the reputation that the shield hero has. That's why I'm thinking she was a companion to the shield hero, is because she saw this happen firsthand. That's my theory. I don't know if that's true.
But I think that's a very strong...
I think it's safe to say. I mean, it would still surprise me if it was the sword hero or something like that,
or one of the other 3.
Yeah. So we get to the next morning, and immediately we have the same problem with breakfast, to which Naofumi promptly solves it. But FITORIA decides to come down and start talking to Melty, and having that conversation. And then she basically says, hey, Melty, can you come here for a minute? And Melty, politely responds, to which FITORIA puts her in a wind prison and then moves her off to an area of the ruins and immediately says, I now issue a challenge to Philo. You will fight me to save Melty. And if you lose, not only will I kill you, but I will kill the shield hero and his party, and then I will move on to the other cardinal heroes. So she's going to make good on her threat. And right now, she's powerful enough that she could do it. So at that point, she's like, okay, you will fight me. If you win, you get Melty back. And I will leave you alone. But if you lose, then I'm going to kill the shield hero, and then I'm going to move on to the next ones. Basically, she's letting this fight determine her course of action. To which is very shocking to Raftalia and to Naofumi and all that, but Philo's like, let's go. Because she just loves fighting. However, she also sets a caveat. No one can help her, and FITORIA will fight her in her human form, because that is the, quote, only way to make this a fair fight.
Well, yeah, she's like, well, we're only going to fight in our human forms.
Yeah, that's right. So she can't fight in the Philo can't fight bird form either. Mm-hmm. So she gets all of her gimmicks and all of her trinkets that Naofumi has made, and she immediately starts trying to harm FITORIA. She's not succeeding. In fact, FITORIA is doing more damage to her defending than she is attacking. Our little blondie is getting her butt handed to her very promptly. But she keeps on throwing herself at FITORIA, and it's not really working. So Naofumi decides, well, this isn't going in our favor. And immediately sneaks up to where Melty is, and immediately decides, okay, I'm going to try and get you out of here, and then we're just going to run for it. Because there's no way we can win against her, and we need to secure our getaway. To which FITORIA immediately shoots a thing of wind magic at Naofumi, which he can barely defend, and says, any more interference and I'll just immediately kill all of you. And Philo even gets kind of mad at this because it's kind of her master showing that she doesn't have faith in her. Mm-hmm. So she keeps on throwing herself at Philo, and Naofumi tries to encourage Philo as much as he can. Same thing with Raftalia. But eventually, it gets to the point where she is just almost out of energy, and it looks like it's going to go in FITORIA's favor. But then Philo, out of nowhere, just out of a desire to protect her master, out of a desire to protect her friends, out of a desire to protect Melty, she gains a new power out of this. She ultimately learns how to create claw constructs that would be like her bird claws, but they're like Green Lantern constructs, and is able to use them to kind of fight off Philo or FITORIA.
Okay, I was like, what?
Sorry. And actually is able to land a hit on FITORIA. One single scratch on the cheek. To which, because of this display of power through desperation, FITORIA then declares Philo the winner.
Which I love the whole thing. She's like, yay, I'm the winner!
Yay, I'm the winner! I'm now dead. And Naofumi kind of sees what she was doing. She was testing her to see if she can actually like adapt and continue to grow in power. To which at that point, then all the chocobos are kind of brought in, and FITORIA officially announces that Philo will be FITORIA's successor as the Philolial Queen. To which they all cheer. They're like, yay! And Philo's like, what? Like, she doesn't want this. To which then a couple of gifts are then handed out. FITORIA gives a crown to Philo, which then immediately like blends into her body and creates a big feather on the top of her head, which Naofumi points out looks like a cowlick. Nobody else knows what he's talking about. So he's like, wow, it looks like a cowlick. And Philo hates it, by the way. She's like, oh, this looks bad. Get this off my head. And she can't even reach for it anymore.
Well, she pulls it out, but it just grows back.
Yeah, then it grows back. And so at that point, FITORIA is like, well, and get used to it, because this is actually going to show how powerful you are. showcasing that Philo has 1 cowlick and FITORIA has 3. Second thing she does, she then takes one of those cowlicks and puts it into Naofumi's shield. And then at that point gets the entire Philolial series of shields unlocked, but he's not the proper level for them. So, and from what he can tell, they're pretty high up in level. So he doesn't know when he's going to get these things. She also, in turn, puts a enchantment on the shield to help it with the damage that is being done by the curse. He doesn't really know what she's talking about.
Was it the shield or was it the armor?
Or yeah, actually, she enchants the armor. That's right. And it also affects the shield. So at that point, she's basically saying, like, you can't rely on this cursed shield. It won't go well for you, and the damage will be, at some point, will be irreversible. Like, what I've done is going to help fend that off, but eventually, if you continue to use the rage shield, it is going to be irreversible. So please don't use it. So this is ultimately why she was locking off Naofumi from using the rage shield, is because it would be bad for him in the long run. So she explains that to him. Melty has a request, to which it's honored. A little bit later, I'm trying to remember, did Raftalia make a request of FITORIA? I don't think she did.
No, I don't think so.
But
because Melty was like, "Yeah, I want to ride."
Yes, that's ultimately what she gets. Everybody gets a ride on Godzilla-sized FITORIA.
Well, not everyone.
Oh no, she teleports everybody. My bad. No, she just gets a ride.
I mean, everyone else gets like a ride on one of the
but that's okay, because the next gift she gives to Naofumi is more preaching. So
and a new carriage.
Well, no, more preaching. So she basically says, "Did you ever try to clear your name? Did you ever try to reach out to them and try to clear your name?"
I bet.
Which at this point, can we both say it together? Yes.
I would say Naofumi is like, "Not this again."
Yeah, that's pretty much how he's responding the whole time. But she then says, "Okay, after giving you all of this stuff, I am going to put you, like, I will take you somewhere safe, close to a border, so that you can go to another country. But I'm also going to put you next to another Cardinal Hero, and I want you to go talk to them. I want you to go reason with them and try to make nice." To which I can already see Andrea's eyes rolling. And this is how we both reacted. Because it's like, oh, son of a bitch. Because, again, you don't understand the problem, lady. But Naofumi begrudgingly agrees.
He's like,
and then finally, the other present that she gives is that she teleports them, and she also gives a brand new carriage to Philo. Not as big as the other one, but a little passenger carriage for Philo. That was nice of her. Sorry, you were saying something about FITORIA being an obnoxious bitch.
Well, I'm just going to say, like, Naofumi's like, well, I'll try, but I can't make promises that they're actually gonna
But she
agree.
accepts it and basically says, please just try.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's pretty much how this episode ends, is that FITORIA goes on her way and they immediately start going towards the border. So at that point, what did this episode do right? What did this episode do wrong? All of FITORIA's preaching. All of it.
Yes.
All of it's wrong. It's so irritating. But I can at least say that the fight was interesting.
The fight was great.
So that was good. The preaching was annoying and starting to get really, like, now that we're revisiting this is just bothers the crap out of me. But funny moments in this episode. I like the cowlick stuff. That was funny.
I also love
a cowlick, master.
I also love how Melty was just enjoying riding on.
Oh my gosh, she was in heaven, wasn't she?
That was
oh my goodness, she was in heaven. So then, out of 5, what would we give A Promise Made? 4.
4, yeah.
Yep, because again, we have to deal with FITORIA's fucking preaching, and it's driving me crazy. So then we move into episode 18, A Conspiracy Linked. So, There has been a B-plot in the previous 2 episodes that I have not mentioned. The main reason being is that it's relevant here. So, while all the stuff with FITORIA has been going on, people might remember that when they last met with the sword and bow heroes, Naofumi gave an emblem of the 3 Heroes Church to Ren and said, look into these guys. To which Ren did what he did exactly that, and actually brought Itsuki along. So they did their homework and eventually are led to a cave that apparently houses some kind of secret of the church or something like that. Maybe the evidence that they need to show that 3 Heroes Church is not on the up and up. So they go in there with their parties, and we actually get to see their parties kind of getting along and the differences between them. But they eventually end up in this library in a cave, and they're doing some homework to see if maybe they can find something, and then all of a sudden you hear, oh, look who the cat dragged in, or something like that, and then it goes black. So we know that Ren and Itsuki were caught.
And you will also notice that there was somebody else present at that time.
Was there?
Yeah.
Who?
Mime.
Was Mime there?
Yeah. She was wondering why they were getting, snooping around in that area.
I don't remember that.
You don't?
I don't remember that.
Because I was like, oh, crap.
Okay, I don't remember that, but all right. So this B-plot has been going on in the previous 2 episodes. We now cut to episode 18, and they are on their way to the border, and they immediately see like a guard post that apparently this is where the other hero is. And so Naofumi does intend to keep his promise, but before they get there, he wants everybody prepared to go in for a fight, because that's, this is wise, right? Like, we don't know what we're walking into, and even he kind of points out, if we get Motoyasu, this is going to be a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way you're going to convince Motoyasu. So they eventually end up in the guard station that is right next to the border, and immediately say, I'm the shield hero. I'm looking to speak with the hero of this area. To which Naofumi's worst fear is realized. Motoyasu comes out. And now he's actually looks like he's improved himself quite a bit, because his spear now looks different. It now has like 2 heads to it instead of 1. So at that point he comes out along with Mine and his party and immediately says, so why should I listen to anything that you have said after what you did to Itsuki and Ren? And this is how vague this thing starts out, and it stays that way for a majority of the episode, and then the fight ensues. So originally it's a one-on-one between Naofumi and Motoyasu, to which at that point it looks like they're pretty much on the same kind of power level. So, Naofumi pulls out his tricks. It's not really working against Motoyasu. And then eventually, because of course she did, Mine gets involved.
Mm-hmm.
To which at that point, Melty gets involved. Because Melty is sick and tired of Mine doing all this crap. And in fact, one thing that's actually kind of funny throughout this whole episode is whenever anybody mentions just how one-track minded Mine is, you will get this little smirk from Melty going, oh yeah, I know about that. Basically saying she knows all the problems with her sister. So at that point, we get to see that Mine is fairly proficient in wind and fire magic, and Melty looks like she's proficient in water magic and maybe some fire, but a lot of the stuff that she uses is water. And immediately as soon as that happens, then the other party members join the fray. So Raftalia gets into the mix, as well as Philo, and Philo starts pulling out like her construct claws and everything like that. And then we get to see something really cool happen with this fight. All the while, Naofumi's like, why the hell are you trying to hit me? Why are you trying to kill me? And we keep on getting alluded to, what the hell do you think I've done to Itsuki and Ren? And he's not answering. Why would I answer that to the devil of the shield?
That's a headache.
Good fucking Lord. I'm so sick and tired of that. But then we get to see something really cool happen. So I want to get into this right now because this is a little bit of an issue. Naofumi's party has Melty, which is a caster. You could technically say Naofumi's the tank because he's got the shield. Raftalia is a melee DPS, safe to say. And then Philo is like a hybrid, right? Because she's melee and she's also magic. So you have a fairly balanced party there, right? Because all of them can heal. Then we've also seen Itsuki and Ren's parties, which seem to be fairly balanced as well. Like they've got a proper, I think one of them had a proper knight, like a member of the captain or the King's Guard as their tank. I think that was Itsuki. We even have like magic casters, we have proper healers, we even have monks on both of their parties, so martial artists. So they look like fairly, like if they're playing this as a video game, they're playing it balanced. All right? Whereas Motoyasu's playing very much in like one cookie cutter build because all of his party pretty much looks like casters and he is the tank / melee DPS. Is that safe to say?
Pretty much.
Because mine might be able to do melee damage, but she pretty much does magic. I mean, does she even have a sword on? Maybe, but she doesn't use it. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Does she have a sword strapped onto her armor? I don't think she does.
Oh, you mean, mine?
Mine, yeah. If she does, then I don't know where it is. But she's very caster friendly. And then he also has 2 other mages that respond in kind. And so what I'm saying is that like he's obviously aiming for some kind of special build, and it's gonna work. It's gonna fail for him in the end because eventually he's not gonna be able to protect his glass cannons, and they're just gonna be wrecked. But through this, we actually get to see something really cool. Apparently, the heroes can team up with their party members for what I'm going to call dual techs or triple techs for those who are fans of Chrono Trigger, but basically combination attacks. Because we actually see that since mine is proficient in fire magic and the other 2 mages are proficient in earth and wind magic, they all combine their magic into his spear, and he's able to do this big meteoric what did he call it? Meteor.
It's some kind of a meteor type.
Stab or something like that. But it turns out that when he does this, the interface on Naofumi's shield shows that Naofumi can also do this. And so we get to have some dual techs happen. One is with Naofumi and Raftalia, where she basically casts her stealth ability. And he then casts an airstrike shield for her. But then when she gets caught, he changes shields to one of the monster shields that he has to attack Motoyasu. But then we also get another cool dual tech, which is even better in my opinion, when Melty and Philo team together to create a hurricane with their water and wind magic. And that was the cooler one, honestly, wasn't it?
Definitely, yes.
I like that, where they because obviously Philo and Melty just look like they could work together. And so the fact that you gave them a dual tech, it looks great. It reminds me of like Marley and Luca from Chrono Trigger. It's great. So we have that happen, and this fight just continues to go on and on and on. And then eventually Motoyasu leaks out that, according to mine, Ren and Itsuki are dead. And it's the shield hero that killed them.
We all laugh at that.
Laugh, or do we all just sit here and go... Because of course she'd blame the devil of the shield, right?
She always does.
She always blames the devil of the shield. And when he tries to defend himself, don't listen to him! He has the brainwashing shield! This is one of those moments where we get Melty just like,
It's like the same song and dance all over again.
Are you sick and tired of hearing about the brainwashing shield? That doesn't exist? And he even points out, I don't have a brainwashing shield! Says the guy with the brainwashing shield!
Ugh.
Oh my gosh. I'm just waiting for mine to actually say, oh, and by the way, follow my OnlyFans page. Even Raftalia is pointing out, like, no, that's not how a shield works. Because, she would know. She's worked with it the longest. And so he's saying, look, I had nothing to do with either Ren or Itsuki, with Ren or Itsuki's death. I didn't know about it. Can we please talk about this? To which, at that point, the arena around them gets disturbingly calm. Like, no birds, no animals, no nothing. And immediately, Philo gets heightened senses and goes up to Naofumi and says, Master, you need to create, like, a bunch of shields right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even Mine and Melty can feel like something's off. So, Naofumi's like, okay. He creates a shield prison around everybody, including Motoyasu's party. But I agree with you. He should have left Mine out.
She should have just kicked Mine out of this.
She should have just gotten voted off the island, is what you're saying?
Yep.
Yep, there you go. Like, as soon as it starts to create, then Melty just pushes her out.
Yep. Boom.
Oh, Melty, if only you could. And then, on top of that, so they have the big shield prison orb. Then, Naofumi is now able to create a second airstrike shield. So he creates both right above the shield prison. He's like, okay, I've done it. What are we waiting for? And Beel's like, it's coming. And finally, we see this ginormous golden beam coming down and just hammering the shields, breaks through them, destroys the shield prison, to which at that point, Naofumi had the rage shield up, and he is barely holding this thing off. And they are all under the shield. So at that point, like, he's barely holding it off, and as soon as it's done, he falls to his knees, and he's like, how did I even survive doing that? And then you see all around where the shield prison was is just a crater. A smoldering crater.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody decided to nuke them from orbit, and we don't know why. Until the Pope shows up. You know, the guy who told the nun to get the proper holy water for Naofumi. So it turns out that the Three Heroes Church has decided to part ways with the Kingdom of Melremark, and instead are going to fight the ways through faith alone. And Mine immediately is pissed off at this because she's a devout follower of the Three Heroes Church. But also, I think she had some deals with the church. And the Pope immediately says, no, we're going to get rid of the royal family too, because you guys are nothing but a thorn in everybody's sides. To which, again, we get another snarky look from Melty. As if, like, yeah, I get it.
Yes.
Mine's a pain in my side too. So at that point, he immediately starts preaching to them and is pointing out, like, that the cardinal heroes aren't even helping, they're blaspheming, cites their previous bad actions as being a blight upon the land. And then his assistant brings over, like, this golden sword to him, to which he says, and now I will mete out divine justice upon you. I am so sick and tired of hearing that phrase from this show.
Oh, you are?
Because all the people who are saying it are like fucking Mine and the king and the Pope and all that. And it's like, even FITORIA to an extent. To which at that point, I'd like to point this out. Because you really wanted FITORIA to be witnessing all of this, right?
You might as well, yes.
Yes! Why did you want her to do that?
Because then maybe she'll know how much more.
Maybe she'll get off of her fucking soapbox.
Maybe then she might as well have been there to explain the whole situation, you know.
Yeah.
And see how far she'd get.
I don't know if she would have gotten that far with Mine, but maybe she could have held off the church. To which he holds up the sword, and apparently Mine and Melty know what that sword is, and they are like, Naofumi, we've got to get out of here. That sword is bad news. And that's how the episode ends. So, because basically the Pope is admitting he is going to get rid of all the cardinal heroes and that the church will save the land from the waves. So, what did this episode do right? What did it do wrong? The fight was good.
The fight was good.
Mine opening her noise hole was bad.
I love it how despite it how useless it was going to be, but at least Naofumi was trying to make good on
and I completely forgot to mention my obligatory mentioning that Motoyasu is a SIMP! Because we constantly also got the whole, I will save your companions from the devil of the shield. I will save them from their brainwashing, and then Philo and Raftalia will be mine! Just like the pedo that he is. So at that point, yeah, we also had to deal with that too.
Well, at least, he attempted to try, but he knew it was going to be hopeless regardless.
Yeah. At that point, he fulfilled the promise as far as I'm concerned. So at that point, funny moment in the episode, every time Melty had a snarky look on her face. Because it's just like, I know more about mine than any of you. So, yeah, I'll go with that. The cool moment was the dual techs that were happening. Specifically, the Melty Philo one was the best.
Mm-hmm.
The rest were kind of, like they're kind of the meh ones. But then I loved the hurricane that they made. That was cool. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. So out of 5, what would we give this one?
I'd probably still give it a 5, just because it's building up to the next fight against the church. But
3.
I know
I'm still sticking to my 3. I am so sick and tired of being preached to by mine. I'm just like, somebody shut her fucking mouth. And on top of that, I'm so sick and tired of Motoyasu. And every time we would have like these really cool moments that we'd have to go right back into Devil of the Shield, Devil of the Shield, Devil of the Shield, Devil of the Shield. So and then on top of that, all the fucking monologuing from the church. I was done.
Okay.
I was done. Like you took all of the exciting moments that had happened up until that point and just made them meaningless to me. So 3.
Okay.
So that being said, we're also going to be bringing back an old staple that people have been asking for, that we technically did in our binging sessions of the previous 2 series, but we haven't done it here. So at that point, what was the best episode that we watched, in your opinion? So between Philolial Queen, A Promise Made, and whatever this one was called, I can't remember off the top of my head. It was A Conspiracy Linked.
I liked that one.
So Conspiracy Linked.
To me, it was me.
Okay.
The least one I probably like is the Philolial Queen one.
So for mine, it's going to be A Promise Made because of the fight between FITORIA and Philo. And the worst one is A Conspiracy Linked because at least there wasn't that much preaching in Philo and FITORIA's fight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going to happen there. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode. So when we come back, it will officially be 4 episodes left because we will be tackling episodes 19 through 21. And also we should probably mention this because while we were going through all of this stuff, Shield Hero Season 2 got a release date. So it will be starting April 6th. This doesn't really affect us, but are you excited?
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited? Because here's the thing. When we start up Geek News Anime Night for Shield Hero Season 2, there is a Season 1.5 that is short. We'll start there. And so at that point, that'll at least give us time for a couple of episodes to have happened. And then, we can just kind of keep going. But the Season 1.5, I have been told, is important. So at that point, we'll take that on. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. April 6th, it's going to be happening. And then the next day is Chrono Cross Remastered, and now I have way too much to do. So that's going to probably be the downside of that. But yay, we have that to look forward to. And thank you guys so much for your continued love and support of the podcast. We appreciate it. You guys can continue to support the podcast at geekynro.libsyn.com, where everything is. We have Geek News Movie Night, Geek News Anime Night, Geek News Marathon Night. Upcoming soon is Geek News Game Night, as well as the GNRO podcast for you guys to be able to enjoy. You can also check those out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Player.fm, and Spotify. You can also check out the podcasts as well on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. They are now available on all of those platforms, just in case you don't want to support Mama Susan, and frankly, I don't blame you. So at that point, you guys can reach out there, or if you want to make suggestions for Geek News Marathon Night, seasons or what not to do, or Geek News Anime Night, you can do so at geekyweek@gmail.com. And that's going to go ahead and do it for us. Thank you guys so much. And when we come back, it will be 4 episodes left in Shield Hero Season 1. So for myself and for Andrea, we will see you guys next time for more Rising of the Shield Hero.